Discover the heartwarming truth. CEO exposes life-changing secrets behind his janitor's tears. In the heart of downtown Chicago, Mark scrubbed, mopped, and polished every surface of the sprawling corporate office as the world outside faded into the soft hum of distant traffic. The rhythmic swish of his mop was a fragile solace to the heavy heart beneath his humble work uniform. Each stroke whispered memories of comrades lost in the jungles of Vietnam, and he felt them pulling him back to moments that still haunted him, battles fought and sacrifices he feared were in vain. With mounting bills weighing down on him, especially the growing costs of his daughter's medical treatments, he quietly struggled to maintain hope. Meanwhile, above him in the chic, glass and steel towers, Jonah, the ambitious CEO, led a life punctuated by 16-hour workdays, plush meetings, and fierce competition. Known for his cutthroat tactics, he seemed to have it all, yet loneliness gnawed at him late at night, a void that followed him like a shadow in the corner of his eye. One evening, after yet another late meeting draped in the prestige of success, Jonah stumbled out, his mind knee-deep in numbers and projections, when he noticed the flicker of fluorescent lights shimmering in the janitorial closet. As he wandered closer, he caught sight of Mark, mopping the floor, his face streaked with tears glimmering like the chandeliers above. In that moment, it was as if the world shifted. Jonah felt an inexplicable pull, bumping against the walls of his carefully curated life. "Is everything okay?" Jonah asked, his voice softer than he intended, brushing against the quiet of the office. Mark looked up, surprise flickering in his eyes, before the depth of his sorrow came flooding forth. They exchanged stories like weary travelers meeting on a crossroad. Mark spoke of the war like it was a haunting ghost, a weight he carried with pride but also pain. He told Jonah of his daughter, her laughter echoing in his mind like sweet music, and the mounting bills that clawed at his sense of security. Jonah listened, each word weighing on him, transforming abstract statistics of struggling families into vivid images of resilience and aspiration. Just as Mark's poignant tale enveloped Jonah, the echo of the high-stakes world he inhabited returned to him, a world where success often overshadowed human stories. With unease gnawing in his stomach, Jonah realized that the stories of hard-working men like Mark were too easily drowned in his pursuit of profits and accolades. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The emotional current surged, and Jonah found himself faced with an unexpected dilemma. He thought of leveraging Mark's story for his benefit, to gain public sympathy and potentially reshape his corporate image. But then he hesitated, fearing exploitation. Could he uplift Mark without losing their connection? Standing on the edge of this revelation, Jonah gripped the doorframe with a tight chest, heart pounding at what it would mean to embrace the discomfort of Mark's narrative while confronting his own hollowness. The weight of what he had learned anchored him, leaving him at the threshold of a changing season. Would he risk everything to truly lift someone from the margins, or retreat back into the loneliness of corporate ambition? The next morning brought with it the sharp sting of clarity for Jonah. His coffee, usually a source of comfort, felt cold against his lips. As he sipped, he wrestled with the reality of his recent conversation with Mark. That brief encounter had cracked a window into a world he hadn't dared to acknowledge, and it was sticking with him like a persistent shadow that he looked out over the city from his office window. The skyscrapers glinted in the morning sun, bustling life below seemed distant and disconnected. He thought about Mark's daughter and how her laughter echoed like a haunting melody, a stark reminder of what was truly at stake. With every beat of his heart, Jonah felt the weight of his own choices and responsibilities settle deeper within him. Jonah's assistant, Lisa, popped her head in with a briskness that broke his fog. "Ready for the board meeting?" she asked, tapping her notepad. Jonah nodded, but his mind was still grappling with images of Mark scrubbing floors, tears staining his cheeks. As he stepped into the boardroom, surrounded by self-assured faces and crisp suits, the energy felt different somehow. The buzz of numerical reports, quarterly profits, and corporate strategies echoed off the walls but fell flat against his ears. Instead, all he could think about was the story of a man who fought battles in silence, the battles only a few truly understood. "Jonah, you okay?" one of the board members inquired, noticing his distraction. "Yeah, I'm fine," he replied, forcing a smile. But was he? As the meeting proceeded, Jonah drifted into thought. What if he did something different? Not just a quarterly report but a community initiative, something that would reach out to employees on the margins, like Mark. What if he could create a program that genuinely supported the families of his employees? Jonah? Lisa's voice pulled him back to reality. The meeting had ended, and everyone was filing out. Jonah met her expectant gaze. "What do you think about starting a charitable foundation?" he blurted out before he could talk himself out of it. "One that supports employee families facing hardships, especially in medical emergencies." Lisa blinked, clearly taken aback. "That's ambitious. But are you sure? That kind of move can be risky, and our investors might not be on board." "I know, but I can't keep chasing numbers when real lives are at stake. This isn't just about hitting targets. It's about people." Jonah felt a fire kindling in him. The thought of overlooking Mark's struggles again felt unbearable. "Okay," Lisa nodded, her skepticism turning into cautious optimism. "Let us draft a proposal and see how we can present it." As they outlined a plan, Jonah felt alive with purpose. He envisioned an event where employees could come together, share stories much like he and Mark had shared. A chance for connections that transcended corporate polish and elevator pitches. The day passed quickly, and by evening, Jonah found himself standing outside the janitorial closet again. He hesitated, heart racing. He wanted to share his vision with Mark, to invite him into this idea, but uncertainty wrapped around him like a thick fog. Would Mark accept it? Or would it feel like another way to exploit his story? Before he could overthink it, the door swung open, and Mark emerged, mop in hand, a surprise lurking behind his warm eyes. "Jonah," he said, curious about why the CEO stood there outside the closet. "Can I talk to you for a moment?" Jonah asked, his voice barely a whisper in the echo of the hallway. Mark nodded, sensing the weight behind the words. Jonah took a deep breath, prepared for the moment that could change everything, not just for them, but for countless others. What would Mark say about a new hope that might lift them both? Would they dare to dream together? Jonah stood there, rooted to the spot as the hallway's fluorescent lights flickered above. The air felt thick, almost electric with unspoken words. Mark shifted the mop to the side, waiting, his face a canvas of curious apprehension. "Thanks for meeting me," Jonah finally said, the words escaping like a sigh of relief. There, in that moment, he felt a mix of trepidation and excitement for what he was about to propose. "Sure thing. What's on your mind?" Mark asked, wiping his brow with the back of his hand, the subtle signs of a long day still visible in his expression. Jonah took a deep breath, feeling the weight of every eye in the company resting on him, even if they weren't there. "I've been thinking a lot about what you said last time about things being hard for you and your family." He paused, searching Mark's eyes for any hint of encouragement. "I want to help. I was thinking about starting a charitable foundation at the company, one that supports employees during tough times, medical emergencies, unexpected hardships. Something real." The silence that followed felt heavy but full of possibility. Mark's eyes widened, shifting from cautious skepticism to something more alive: hope? Fear? Jonah couldn't tell. "Are you serious?" Mark finally asked, voice thick with disbelief. "Absolutely. I believe we can start something that really makes a difference in people's lives," Jonah replied, passion igniting his words. "We could set up resources, support for families, maybe even a scholarship fund for kids. I want to change our focus from just the bottom line to something meaningful." Mark looked down at the floor, his mop forgotten at his side. After a moment, he looked back up, an emotion flickering in his gaze. I don't know, Jonah, it feels like a perfect dream, but will it work in reality? What if investors don't like it? What if it all falls apart? Jonah took a step closer, eager to push past the apprehension veiling Mark's spirit. What if it changes lives, Mark? What if it gives people hope? You told me about your daughter. Imagine her knowing there's a community behind your family when times get tough. We could create a safety net, something for all those employees who feel voiceless. Mark's expression softened. The walls of doubt cracked a little, revealing the glimmer of hope beneath. But what if they see it as a weakness? It's a risk. What would everyone say? Jonah shook his head, feeling the urgency swell within him. What others think doesn't matter. What matters is acting on compassion. We can show them that the heart of a company beats in the lives it touches, not just in revenue charts. Mark's face betrayed a torrent of conflicting emotions: fear, hope, uncertainty. You really think it could make a difference? He asked quietly, almost as if he were afraid to believe. Jonah nodded, seeing the flicker of belief in Mark's eyes. I know it can. Let us meet with other employees, share stories, and collaborate. We can build something together. I want this to represent all of us, especially those who felt alone. The corners of Mark's mouth twitched upward. A hesitant smile. Okay, let us talk more about it. Maybe we can really create something meaningful. Relief washed over Jonah, and he felt the spark of a new friendship forming, one tied to shared purpose. As they discussed the next steps, Jonah couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. It tugged at him that what they were proposing could reshape their lives in ways neither of them fully understood yet. Mark was dawning with hope, but Jonah's mind raced with the potential backlash and challenges ahead. What kind of struggles might they face in this new venture? He gripped Mark's shoulder, their connection solidifying. It was a small gesture, but it felt monumental. Let us do this together. But as Mark nodded, a wince of uncertainty crossed his face. He opened his mouth, about to voice a lingering doubt that Jonah sensed like a chill in the air. What was left unsaid hung between them like a tightly woven thread, teasing the possibility of further resistance ahead. Could they truly navigate the unexpected storms that lay in wait? Jonah's heart raced at the thought. Would their leap of faith lead to transformation or to unforeseen consequences that could topple them both? The sound of footsteps echoed through the quiet hallway as they moved toward the break room, leaving behind the uncertainty of the fluorescent lights. Jonah felt the weight of Mark's skepticism lingering in the air, a heavy shroud that threatened to dampen their newfound dream. Do you think anyone else would back this idea? Mark asked, breaking the silence again and stirring Jonah from his thoughts. I believe a lot of people would, Jonah replied, his voice steady. He envisioned the faces of their colleagues, the ones who toiled in silence, the ones who needed a guiding hand. We just need to show them it's possible. If we can give them a voice, a chance to contribute, I bet they'll surprise us all. Mark furrowed his brow, skepticism creeping back. But it's one thing to talk about change, it's another to make it happen. You know how the company is, they thrive on numbers and profits. Jonah nodded, remembering the countless meetings where profits were deemed king, where the human stories behind those numbers were lost in the shuffle. That's why we have to shift the narrative. We need to present this not as a cost but as an investment in our people. Taking a seat at the battered table, Mark stared into a lukewarm cup of coffee. Jonah could see the wheels turning in his mind, marred by doubt yet glimmering with a hint of hope. How do we even begin? That's our first step, Jonah said with resolve, leaning closer. Identifying people who want to be involved. Organizing a meeting. If we can gather a small group of supporters, we can find strength in numbers. Mark finally glanced up, meeting Jonah's gaze. Okay, I can help with that. A spark of determination emerged in his eyes, pushing aside some of the weight of doubt. What about the logistics? Funding? Jonah felt a surge of excitement. We can reach out to local businesses, ask for donations. We can even host events to raise money. There's a lot we can do. The enthusiasm in his voice bubbled over, filling the break room with a newfound energy. A glimmer of a smile returned to Mark's face, a tentative breakthrough. You really think this could work? I do. Jonah exclaimed, the conviction in his heart lifting him. Together, we'll create something people will rally around. It'll show how much our company values its employees as individuals, not just as cogs in a machine. As they began to sketch out their ideas on a napkin, Jonah felt the weight of their fears lift slightly. But deep down, he sensed an impending storm lurking on the horizon. Would the higher-ups agree? Would they see power in this initiative, or would they view it as a threat? Suddenly, the idea of confronting repercussions made his stomach twist uneasily. He brushed it aside for now. Mark was smiling, and they were building something together. The next step, Jonah said, determination rising anew, is to set up that initial meeting. We'll reach out to employees, share stories, and see who's interested in joining us. Real stories that echo the struggles we face. Mark's expression softened, recalling the lives they hope to impact. All right, let us do it. But Jonah, if this goes sideways, are we ready for that? Jonah took a deep breath, steadying himself. We'll face it when it comes. Right now, let us focus on the possibilities. With that, they extended their plans into the uncertain horizon ahead. As they mapped out their next steps, Jonah's heart raced. The rush of hope competing with the thrill of fear fueled him onward. Could they truly achieve this vision? Would they grow stronger as a united front, or end up testing their limits in ways they never expected? Jonah's pulse quickened with anticipation. Their actions would soon test not only their courage but the very fabric of their company. What would it take to transform their dream into reality, and would they be brave enough to endure the journey ahead? The break room buzzed with a newfound energy as Jonah and Mark reviewed their plans. They outlined their vision on tiny paper napkins, arranging ideas like pieces in a puzzle that were slowly coming together. The clatter of coffee cups and the murmur of colleagues felt like background music to their mission, a blend of ordinary work life infused with the promise of something extraordinary. Jonah leaned back in his chair, excitement swirling in his chest. We need to move fast. The sooner we gather our team, the sooner we can start influencing change. Right, Mark said, his fingers drumming lightly on the table, the weight of their ambition resting heavily on him. But who do we even reach out to first? Jonah thought for a moment, scanning the room. What about Alex and Taylor? They've got good ideas, and they care about the team. Perfect. What about that new hire, Jenna? She seems passionate, Mark added. Great point. Let us make a list, Jonah said, jotting down names. Each person was a thread in a larger tapestry they were weaving, one that could transform their workplace. As they hammered out details, their momentum built. They envisioned their first meeting, a room buzzing with ideas, people sharing personal stories, the air thick with hope and determination. But even as the possibilities danced before them, a shadow loomed in Jonah's heart. Jonah, Mark interrupted, catching the flicker of anxiety across his face. What are you thinking? Just what if we get shut down? Jonah blurted. What if the management doesn't see what we see? What if they think our idea's a waste of time? Mark's expression shifted. For a moment, they were back in that starkly lit conference room, facing the same walls where innovation went to die. If that happens, he said steadily, we'll still be making an impact. We'll know we tried. Jonah felt a wave of comfort wash over him. Right, they weren't just fighting for their own vision, they were fighting for every silent voice in the company. Then let us make it count. They wrapped up their discussion, agreeing to meet the next day to finalize their pitch and choose a date for their first gathering. Jonah felt a flutter of nerves mixed with excitement. They couldn't turn back now. They were already moving forward, like a train gathering speed down the tracks. Over the next few days, Jonah and Mark worked tirelessly. They reached out to everyone on their list, arranging coffee chats and one-on-one discussions to rally support. Each conversation sparked enthusiasm, igniting hope in those who had felt overlooked, but it wasn't all smooth sailing. Doubts crept in during sleepless nights, and when the day came for their first group meeting, Jonah's heart pounded as he set up chairs in the conference room. What if nobody showed? What if their dreams crumbled under the weight of fear and hesitation? When the door opened, a wave of faces streamed in: Alex, Taylor, and even Jenna. They filled the room with a buzz of anticipation that almost drowned out Jonah's anxiety. He offered a nervous smile and glanced at Mark, who grinned back, sharing the unspoken thrill of potential. "All right, everyone. Thank you for coming today," Jonah started, his voice shaking slightly. "We're here to talk about how we can make our workplace better for each of us. Everyone has a story, and we want to hear yours." As he began to share their vision, Jonah felt something shift. The room looked alive, people leaning in, nodding, their eyes shining with a mix of hope and curiosity, but just as they were building momentum, the door swung open again, revealing a familiar figure, their boss, eyes narrowing as he surveyed the room. Jonah's heart dropped. Was he here to quash their budding plans before they even got off the ground? Was this really where their journey would hit a wall? Jonah fought to steady his voice as he faced their unexpected audience member. "Here goes nothing," he muttered under his breath. "What's going on here?" Their boss's voice sliced through the hum of excitement, drawing every eye to him. His presence felt like a wet blanket smothering the enthusiasm Jonah had felt moments ago. Jonah's stomach twisted. Was this it? The end of their hopes? He took a deep breath and met his boss's gaze, forcing a smile despite the tremor in his heart. "We're just gathering ideas to help improve our team's morale. You really think this is the best use of company time?" The skepticism in his boss's tone made Jonah's heart race even faster. It felt like the walls were closing in. Mark quickly chimed in. "We believe that with better communication and support, we can boost productivity and satisfaction for everyone. Isn't that what matters?" The tension hung in the air, thick and awkward. For a moment, Jonah thought he saw a flicker of understanding in his boss's eyes, but it vanished quickly. The room was silent, waiting, breaths held like a collective prayer. "Look, Jonah," Mark his boss began, but Jonah couldn't afford to wait for the dismissal. So many people were in that room wanting change. He stepped forward, his voice steadier now. "Can we at least share our ideas? We just want to create a space where everyone feels heard and valued." The boss raised an eyebrow, clearly unimpressed. But then, out of nowhere, Alex spoke up. "We should have the chance to express our thoughts. Everyone here believes we can make a difference. It's worth a shot, right?" One by one, others nodded in agreement, and Jonah felt a spark of hope light within him. Their collective voices might just make an impact. "Oh, come on, don't you all have real work to do?" The boss replied, crossing his arms. But his tone was slightly softer, a crack forming in his demeanor. "I think this is real work," Jenna said, her eyes bright with determination. "Involving everyone makes our team stronger. If we don't address these things, we'll just keep spinning our wheels." Jonah felt a wave of admiration for Jenna. She was new but so brave. Their boss looked around the room, and Jonah held his breath, praying for a miracle. Jonah could see flickers of thoughtful expressions among his colleagues, and suddenly it dawned on him that this was the heart of their mission to empower one another. The silence lengthened, but then their boss sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "All right, fine. You have 10 minutes. Make it count." Jonah couldn't believe his ears. "Thank you," he said, grinning from ear to ear. "We will." The energy in the room shifted again, positive electricity flowing like a current. Jonah turned to Mark, who looked as shocked and relieved as he felt. They gave each other a nod. They were back on track. Turning back to the group, Jonah felt exhilarated. "Let's brainstorm. What does everyone want to see change? Don't hold back." The ideas began to cascade like water from a spring, flowing freely. Conversations ignited one after another, laughter punctured the air, and Jonah could feel the atmosphere transforming. Together, they began painting a picture for a brighter workplace, but in the back of his mind, Jonah couldn't shake the feeling that their struggles were far from over. What would happen when the boss came back to review their suggestions? Would he support them or play it safe? As the meeting wrapped up, Jonah's heart soared, yet uncertainty lingered. The change they wanted was on the horizon, but would it be enough to break through the barriers that management had set up over the years? The questions echoed in his mind, stirring a new sense of determination. With newfound resolve, Jonah turned to his colleagues, ready to push forward. Let us take it one step at a time, but remember, this is just the beginning. Yet deep inside, he was left pondering one crucial thought. Would they ultimately have the courage to see their vision realized, or was this simply a fleeting moment of hope? The air buzzed with a strange mixture of energy and anxiety as Jonah's team wrapped up their brainstorming session. He glanced around the room, eyes landing on each of his colleagues. They had spoken from their hearts, shared their hopes, and even their frustrations. Together, they had formed an unspoken pact: they would stand up for one another. "Jonah," Mark interrupted his thoughts. "You okay, man? You look a bit lost." Jonah shook his head, forcing a smile. "Yeah, just thinking about what happens next." Mark rolled his eyes, but Jonah could see a flicker of understanding there. "We pushed through that first hurdle. Now we just need to keep pushing, right?" "Right," Jonah replied, but doubt crept back in. Their boss could easily dismiss all their suggestions. What if the boss preferred to keep the status quo? The group slowly started to disperse, some sharing excited whispers while others ventured to the coffee machine for a well-deserved break. Jonah lingered, heart still racing. He was grateful for everyone's enthusiasm, but that spark of hope came paired with the weight of reality. As he made his way to the common area, he was met by Jenna, her coffee in hand. "You really think he'll consider our suggestions?" she asked, genuine curiosity shining in her eyes. "I hope so," Jonah replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "I admire how you spoke up," she said, leaning closer. "Not everyone would have the guts to do that. It wasn't just me. It was everyone." His heart swelled. "We're all in this together." "Maybe we should do a follow-up," she suggested, her enthusiasm infectious. "Get everyone on board for what comes next. Prepare a proposal for him." The idea ignited a fire in Jonah. "Yes. I love that. We could sketch out ideas, set some goals, make it look polished." Jenna nodded, her eyes sparkling with determination. "Let us gather everyone again tomorrow. We can finalize our thoughts and present a united front." As they began to plan, Jonah felt a renewed sense of purpose. They didn't just want to be heard, they wanted a visible, tangible change. Yet, uncertainty still pulsed beneath the surface. What if the boss shot them down? Later that day, Jonah couldn't concentrate on anything. His mind spiraled with the possibilities, both good and bad. He envisioned the moment they would stand before their boss again. Would they feel the thrill of success, or the sting of rejection? Time seemed to stretch endlessly until he finally clocked out. At home, he couldn't shake the impending tension. He sat at the kitchen table with his notebook, sketches and notes sprawled in front of him. With every idea he wrote, his heart raced. Suddenly, he felt trapped. What if he was leading his colleagues to disappointment? He took a deep breath, trying to calm his storming thoughts. Then, he picked up his phone. "Hey, Mark," he said when his friend answered. "Can we meet tonight? I really want to talk about tomorrow." "Of course. What's on your mind?" "I just want to make sure we're ready." "I don't want to let anyone down," Jonah confessed, feeling vulnerable. Mark paused. "Hey, you've already done more than most would. Just remember we're a team. Whatever happens, we're in this together." Jonah smiled, the reassuring warmth spreading through him. "Thanks, man. I needed to hear that." As they ended the call, Jonah realized he wasn't as alone as he thought. The road ahead lay shrouded in uncertainty, but with their combined resolve, they could face whatever came their way. With a renewed sense of purpose, Jonah scribbled down everything they needed for tomorrow. Decisions had to be made, but that didn't mean it was hopeless. It was just another step toward change, but deep down, a question lingered in his mind. How far would they go to fight for what they believed in? And would it be enough to finally sway their boss? He pushed aside his doubts, ready to face whatever came next. But with hope came the weight of reality, a tension that hinted at the challenges ahead. Jonah woke up the next morning to the sunlight peeking through his curtains, but the warmth of the sun offered little comfort. He felt the palpable weight of the day ahead pressing down on him. This was at the moment he had been steeling himself for. Every idea, every thought from the brainstorming session echoed in his mind, but self-doubt still gnawed at him. After a quick breakfast, Jonah slipped on a navy blue shirt, something he thought might exude confidence. He couldn't help but wonder what everyone else thought as they got ready. Did they feel the same mix of excitement and fear? As he drove to work, the world outside displayed its usual hustle and bustle, but inside the car, it felt strangely quiet, as if time itself held its breath. Arriving at the office, Jonah spotted Jenna and Mark by the entrance, their faces lit with determination. Jenna greeted him with a bright smile. "Ready to make some waves?" "Ready as I'll ever be," he replied, though his stomach fluttered nervously. They gathered in the conference room along with their teammates. The room felt charged with electric energy, each person wearing an expression that mirrored Jonah's mix of anticipation and anxiety. They shared nervous laughter and whispered encouragement, yet as they prepared to present, Jonah felt the gravity of the moment settle over them like a thick fog. When their boss walked in, the air shifted. He carried an air of authority, his expression unreadable. Jonah's heart raced. Could he truly appreciate what they were about to share? "Good morning," the boss said, taking his seat at the head of the table. "I hear we have some ideas to discuss today. Let us hear what you've got." Jonah began to speak first, outlining their vision. The words flowed out, surprisingly fluid despite the tightness in his chest. He shared anecdotes, statistics, and the passion of their team's newfound mission for change. But the moment they reached the core of their proposal, Jonah paused. He took a breath, sensing the eyes of his colleagues on him, urging him forward. Jenna followed him with her points, her energy infectious. The confidence in her voice struck a chord in Jonah, coaxing out the fears and doubts he had harbored. One after another, his teammates spoke up, presenting their thoughts and ideas. Each person added value to the presentation, creating a chorus of unified voices echoing their shared dream. Yet, as their notes faded into silence, Jonah couldn't shake the worry that their unified effort could still be dismissed. The air felt heavy, fraught with tension. The boss leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, studying them. Jonah's heartbeat thundered in his ears. Then the silence stretched, too long, too suffocating. Just as Jonah feared they would have to face a harsh critique, the corners of the boss's mouth turned slightly upward. "I'm impressed," he said, surprisingly soft-spoken. "You've all put in a lot of thought into this, and I can see the passion behind it. I've been wanting to change a few things around here, but I need to consider the logistics." Jonah's heart leaped. He had expected a wall of resistance, not this cautious hope. Yet with that small glimmer of encouragement came new uncertainty. What would the boss need to consider? What obstacles still lay ahead? Logistics? As in? Jonah started, but before he could finish, a loud knock interrupted the meeting. Everyone turned. The door swung open, revealing a familiar figure. It was someone from the company Jonah hadn't seen in ages, a past employee whose unexpected presence sent a ripple of shock through the room. Suddenly, the day's potential shifted yet again. What did this person want? And how would their arrival change everything? Jonah could feel the tension build in the room once more, uncertainty hanging intricately in the air. The weight of that question pressed against his chest. Would this unexpected visitor help unlock the change they so desperately desired, or throw them even further off balance? The atmosphere in the conference room had shifted dramatically as the door swung open. Jonah's heart raced. It was Charlie, a former employee known for his infectious laughter and boundless optimism. Now, Charlie stood there, his brows furrowed and eyes deeply serious. "Charlie, what are you doing here?" Jonah blurted out, breaking the heavy silence. Confusion colored his teammates' faces as they exchanged glances, unsure of what this surprise visit meant. I need to talk to all of you," Charlie replied, his voice shaky. Jonah could tell that this was far from a social call. There was an urgency in Charlie's tone that gripped his gut. "Now? We're in the middle of a presentation," Jenna interjected, her brows knitting together with concern. "It won't take long," Charlie insisted, stepping deeper into the room. "I know I haven't been around, but I have something important to say." Their boss shifted in his chair, clearly intrigued. The team moved aside, allowing Charlie to stand before them, a man out of breath yet filled with determination. Jonah felt a strange sense of foreboding wash over him. "I spent years working here, and I loved it," Charlie began, glancing down momentarily as if the memories were fragile. "But I left because I felt like I wasn't being heard. It's been a tough road. I've seen how companies can stifle voices that challenge the norm." Jonah's stomach churned. Charlie's experience resonated with an unsettling truth. Instead of infusing their vision with hope, was their proposal really just another idea that could fall flat against the weight of bureaucracy? "I know you're ready to make waves," Charlie continued, regaining his focus. "But I'm worried that if you don't prepare for some backlash, it might not go as planned. There are people up top who don't like change." An uneasy murmur broke out among Jonah's colleagues. Their excitement, so buoyantly building just moments ago, now felt fragile. Jonah's mind raced. Everything they fought for could easily stumble into the shadows of indifference. Charlie's words hung like a heavy fog over the conference table. "What do you suggest?" Jonah asked, his breath hitching in his throat, desperate for guidance. "You need allies. Start building a network of support, not just with your team but across departments. Collect stories. You need people who can back you up when the pushback comes. Make them believe in your vision." This advice landed hard, sparking something within Jonah. He felt as though he had just been handed the map to navigate the treacherous terrain of their corporate landscape. "Thank you, Charlie," Jonah said, his voice steadying as he met the eyes of his team. "We needed to hear that." Charlie nodded, his expression softening, relieved that his words had at least found a receptive audience. "I just want to see you all succeed. You matter. Your ideas matter. Don't let them slip through your fingers like I did." With that, Charlie stepped back, and Jonah sensed the doors of possibility opening once more. It was unsettling but invigorating. As they returned to the pitch, Jonah felt a rush of renewed determination. They could harness Charlie's warning and transform it into strategy. They could advocate for change from a place of understanding and strength. But just as they were about to continue, a notification dinged on Jonah's phone, pulling his attention. It was from the CEO's office, marked urgent. His stomach dropped. What could it mean? Would the tides of change they aimed for ebb away, or would they surge ahead? Jonah's heart raced, uncertainty and anticipation swirling within him. What awaited them on the other side of this pivotal moment? Jonah's thoughts raced as he glanced at the urgent notification on his phone. His heart pounded. What new challenge was waiting for them? As he lifted his eyes, his colleagues were still buzzing, emboldened by Charlie's visit but remaining unaware of the looming storm. "Hey, everyone," Jonah started, trying to grab their attention. "I just got a message from the CEO's office. We need to prepare." Before he could finish, their boss waved a hand. "Let us focus on your proposal first. You've got everyone's attention now. Jonah nodded, drawing strength from the hopeful faces around him. Okay, back to what we were discussing. We need to gather allies, stories, support, build a strong case for our foundation. This isn't just about us anymore. It's about every voiceless person in our company. They resumed their discussion with renewed vigor. Ideas were tossed around like confetti, each one elevating the energy in the room. Mark spoke up, suggesting outreach to employees across departments, getting them to share their stories, the burdens they carried. Jenna proposed a social media campaign to bring awareness about the Foundation's goals to the wider community. Gathering external support could be crucial, Jenna said, her excitement illuminating the space. What if we shared these stories, one a week, to pull in understanding from our peers? Yes. We can show what this place represents, Jonah agreed. Their ideas surged forward like a tidal wave, each suggestion feeding off the excitement of the last. Their boss quietly jotted down notes, his expression shifting as he listened. Jonah dared to hope that they were capturing something important. Then, just as they started crystallizing a plan, Jonah's phone buzzed again in his pocket. This time, it was a call. I have to take this, he murmured, stepping aside. Heart racing, he answered, breath hitching. Hello? Jonah? The voice was clipped, unmistakably the CEO. We need to meet. Now. What is going on? Jonah asked, a knot tightening in his chest. Just come to my office. The gravity in the CEO's voice left no room for argument. Jonah stepped back into the conference room, steeling himself. Guys, I need to head to the CEO's office. I'll be back as soon as I can. Don't doubt yourself, Mark said, giving Jonah a reassuring nod. Jonah swallowed hard and left, every step carrying both excitement and dread. When he reached the CEO's office, he found the man standing behind his desk, arms crossed. Jonah, come in. Sit. Is it about our meeting? Jonah asked, trying to read the emotions on the CEO's face. Partly, the CEO replied, tone serious. I need to know whether we can really back this initiative. Can it deliver results without draining our resources? This is a big step. Absolutely, Jonah replied. I know we can create a significant change, but it requires trust from you and collaborative support throughout the company. It's what's the ROI? The CEO cut him off, impatience creeping into his tone. Jonah paused, the weight of data and emotion hit him. Look, there are numbers, and then there are stories. People are more productive and loyal if they feel valued. Why not invest in their well-being? The CEO regarded him carefully. You think I should believe in this based on stories? Not just stories, Jonah implored. This is our reality. I've learned that when you invest in people, they invest back. This has the potential to redefine our supportive culture and strengthen our workforce. The tension in the room hung like a pendulum, swaying back and forth. At last, after an agonizing moment, the CEO sighed. All right. Let us give it a chance. But you're going to keep me updated, every step of the way. Relief swept over Jonah, and a spark of excitement ignited at the possibility of change. It was a breakthrough, a chance they never knew they needed. Thank you. I promise we won't let you down. As he returned to the conference room, Jonah's heart soared. He rushed back in, emotions spilling over. He agreed. The CEO is on board. A murmur of disbelief rippled through the room, quickly igniting into celebration. Laughter, cheers, and disbelief filled the air as Jonah relayed the specifics. They exchanged stories, their spirits soaring higher than they thought possible. Charlie's warning had been a catalyst, and the Foundation's vision began to coalesce, blooming like spring flowers after a long winter. With their combined power, every voice, every experience, the Foundation was coming to life. As they began discussing next steps, Jonah paused, absorbing the jubilant scene. This wasn't just about a company initiative, it was personal. It was family. A community. Mark caught Jonah's eye and grinned. "We're doing this together." "Yes," Jonah replied, flooded with gratitude. "This is only the beginning." Now, as they gathered their documentation and stories, Jonah knew that they had not only found their strength but had ignited a flame for everyone who felt unseen. In that moment, and for every moment that followed, they were no longer just co-workers, they were a collective force of change. They were a family united by hope, striving for the warmth of understanding and kindness. Jonah took a deep breath, his heart full. This wasn't the end of a story, it was the prologue to many beautiful chapters yet to come. "Let us keep battling for what we believe in," he stated, determination radiating from him. The crowd erupted with applause and hopeful cheers. Together, they stood, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Now was the moment to continue pouring their hearts into this vision, one step at a time. Jonah could feel the waves of change crashing in, and each wave brought them closer to a new tomorrow, and just before they left the room, with the echoes of laughter fading, Jonah's mind raced with possibilities. Would everyone come together as he hoped? Would they continue to support each other even beyond the confines of their company? Only time would tell, but that didn't matter right now. What mattered was the connection they had forged, and how, together with compassion, they could transform not just their workplace, but lives everywhere. The world felt brighter, possibilities endless. Now, it's your turn. You need to subscribe now to witness more soul-stirring transformations. Leave a like right this second to keep this energy flowing. Comment your thoughts, reactions, and feelings about this incredible journey. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to believe in the power of community. Be one of us, an advocate for change, and let us make this world a better place together.